It's no mistake that many gardeners, even veteran ones, turn to the comfy confines of a pot or container to grow their favorite crops.
Container gardening is the real deal. And not only will it not limit your harvests, in some cases, it may actually help with them.
Relatively small, flexible, and efficient. Containers give you the ability to grow veggies virtually anywhere and offer distinct benefits over traditional growing methods.
Today, I've got 6 of them. 6 direct benefits of growing in pots or containers versus raised beds or straight into the ground. The advantages can be seen almost immediately, and after seeing this, you may never want to grow any other way.
Containers come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and even materials. But for as varied as they all have one thing in common.
A small footprint relative to a raised bed or traditional plot of land. And it's this small footprint that allows virtually anyone to become a gardener.
Patios, decks, railings, front yards, every nook and cranny is available and in play. Growers without a yard or a traditional growing space can now get in the game much easier and more readily than ever before.
And with that small footprint also comes portability, the ability to move our pots and containers to different locations within the growing season has surprising advantages.
Chase the sun, catch extra warmth, increase protection for your plants, or simply organize your garden on the fly is a huge benefit when container gardening. For example, these cantaloupes here did not start off their life in this location. In fact, I plan to grow them all in a single line over there on my lawn about 100 feet west from here. Too much shade, too much shelter, and not enough heat means that they were stalling and quickly falling behind. With a finite summer and already cutting it close for a crop like a melon, I had to do something. Instead of compromising on a mediocre harvest, I simply moved them to a better location.
Portability. It's just not possible with in ground growing or even raised beds. Another benefit to growing in these containers, though, and this one might be even bigger, is the need for far less tools and equipment.
Without the need to rotivate, till, or work the soil, the only tool you really need in container gardening is a simple hand trowel. This means that anyone can get started with less, for less, lowering that barrier of entry to growing your own food. It's never a bad thing to make growing more accessible, and that's literally what container gardening does.
Speaking of that soil, when you garden in pots and containers, you have 100% control of what your plants are growing in.
Half the battle with traditional gardening spaces comes from dealing with issues from the soil itself. Rocky, sandy, heavy clay, compact, poor drainage, pH out of whack, you name it. With container setups, we can start with superior soils from the get-go. Yes, this is an added cost, but so is our time and effort wasted on failed crops due to poor soil. Amending, extending, and reusing our potting soils, if you have the space, is a great way to decrease the costs going forward. We should never have to refill our pots all the way from scratch every year, so really it's only that initial cost that stings.
And because we control the soil, we also control the weeds. By using a dedicated potting mix in a container where our crop absolutely takes over every inch of space, the weeds just don't have a chance.
Whether it's fresh, clean soil or you're reusing old potting mixes, in a container setup there just isn't enough surface area for large amounts of weeds to take hold. It's not impossible, but the level of weeding needed compared to even a small raised bed is so small it's not even funny. Trust me, 10 out of 10 growers are always going to pick the garden that needs less weeding every time. No question.
And if less weeds isn't enough for you, how about less pests as well?
Ground crawlers like snails and slugs, burrowing mammals, and even soil-borne baddies are naturally and physically disrupted when container gardening. This lessens the need for chemical warfare and gives us greater as well as safer harvests.
And it's not just pests and weeds. Disease and fungal outbreaks when container gardening should also be greatly lessened as well.
Garden soils can no doubt harbor resistant and persistent fungal spores, as well as other wilt-type diseases. Not always, of course, but if it does happen, it's far less likely to occur in container gardening, and if for some reason it does, it's far easier to quarantine. Any affected or infected plants can simply be removed and treated. This is something that's just not possible when gardening the traditional way, hence the inevitable need for chemical applications. And even if it doesn't happen, the peace of mind that it's so easy to deal with is well worth it.
As we can see with container gardening, though, not only is it very much possible, it's also quite likely probable. What can be viewed as a limitation of gardening is actually a fun and easy way to grow your own vegetables at home. However, that was a lot of information all at once. Let's go ahead and recap all 6 benefits of container gardening so that they all stick.
If there's one thing that we can all agree on, it's that vegetable gardening needs to be more accessible and easy to get started. Making this list of the benefits of growing vegetables in pots and containers showed me that that's exactly what this does. If you're just getting started or you need to change things up to see more success, container growing could certainly be for you. Container gardening is a great way to maximize space, efficiency, and accessibility while also limiting some of the things that can harm our crops.
Hopefully, with the 6 benefits shown here today, you're convinced that container gardening is the real deal, and maybe you give it a chance in the future. If you're already growing in containers, leave a comment down below with what you're growing and how it's going. And as always, guys, happy growing, and I'll see you in the next one.